Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. Happy Friday, everybody. We're back with another massive show to bring you guys today. But before we jump into that, please do me one small favour. Smash a like on today's video. Let's try and see 500 likes on this episode. And if this is your first time watching, please do make sure you subscribe as well. Bottom right-hand corner, get involved live every single day. Right. Let's start the show off by talking a little bit about Manchester United's game against Fenerbahce yesterday. I want you to get in the comments section. Let me know your thoughts on yesterday's game. Were you happy with the performance? Were you happy with a point away from home against Fenerbahce? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Now, I'm going to say from the off, I said on my match preview video yesterday in the morning that a point would be okay. Obviously, we know that Manchester United's mentality is weak. I saw someone else talking about this. I think it was Paul Scholes saying that, Man United's mentality has been questioned for a long time, hasn't it? The players, anyway. So what do we really expect from this set of players when they go away to a difficult, hostile environment? So in the grand scheme of things, am I happy with a point? No. Am I surprised with a point? No, I'm not surprised. I think a loss would have been terrible, but I think in the grand scheme of things, when you look at the past however many years and you look at this team's ability to go 2-0 up and then concede 2 goals immediately and early goals in the second half, etc., etc. Like, these players' mentality, in my opinion, is weak. It's not great. They're not world class, most of them. So I'm not particularly surprised. In all fairness, I think, when you see how hostile the environment is in places like Turkey. Obviously, it was the same in Galatasaray, wasn't it? We went 2-0 up, and then it ended up being. Did they end up winning that game? Was it 3-2? I can't remember. But anyway, you know what I mean. Man United are notorious over the recent years, the last kind of 5 to 10 years of going to places and, just either being absolutely destroyed by teams or getting a couple of goals and then just completely crumbling, and it does happen quite regularly. So a point isn't the end of the world. As it stands at the moment, we do still go through to the playoff round. Because obviously this new format of the Europa League, the top 8 teams automatically qualify for the round of 16, and then the teams from 9th until 24th qualify for the round of 32. So at the moment we would qualify for the round of 32, which means another 2 fixtures, another home and away European fixture, which is not really what we need, but that's just how it is. Currently we are on 3 points out of 3 games, drawn all 3 matches, and to finish in the top 8, the next available position is 7 points. So we're 4 points off, automatic qualification to the next round, which is it's not a massive gap. There's 5 more games, remember, in the Europa League. I think we play Rangers, we play Victoria Plizen, we play Bodo Glimt, we play who else do we play? 2 other teams I can't remember off the top of my head. But the rest of the fixtures, in theory, are slightly easier. I think we've got 4 home fixtures and 1 away fixture. So, yeah, hopefully it would be quite disappointing if we don't finish in that top 8, but we are making it difficult for ourselves effectively now, aren't we? And the way that Man United will look at it is, as long as they qualify for the next round, it doesn't really matter how you get there. Obviously, we're making it more difficult for ourselves, but if it means that we have to play another fixture in a qualifying round to get through to the last 16, then so be it. But yeah, at the moment, we would go through to a playoff round. I mean, there's some decent teams in that playoff round, though. At the moment, there's Roma, there is Olympiacos, there's Lyon, there's Fenerbahce, Porto, Real Sociedad. Like, there are some quite good teams there. So yeah, fingers crossed we put it together a bit. Overall, the performance yesterday, it was okay. I think that's it wasn't good by any stretch of the imagination. Was it terrible? No, I think it was quite a 50-50 game. I think, Man United had the opportunities. Rashford should have scored. There was a couple of other chances. And the same for Fenerbahce. They had their opportunities. And what I did find really, really funny was Jose Mourinho. Jose Mourinho was the most entertaining part of that game of football yesterday. And I put a tweet out last night, and it was something I started thinking about after the game. I miss having a charismatic manager like Jose Mourinho. Now, I'm not saying that I want Jose Mourinho back. I'm just saying I miss having a manager who, when he speaks, you listen. And this is one of the things that I don't like about Ten Hag. And people always seem to think that I love Ten Hag and that I'm obsessed about him and all the rest of it. And that's not really the case. My stance has always been that if there was somebody else available who was world class, then I probably would have got rid of Ten Hag by now. But the fact of the matter is, as we speak about so many times on this channel, there isn't somebody, there isn't a Pep Guardiola, a Jurgen Klopp level manager available. All of the people who could potentially replace him aren't available. They're under contract at other clubs. Or they're just kind of prospects, people like Ruben Amorim, people who you can't 100% say are world-class managers, that you're signing them based on potential. But the one thing that really resonated after last night's game was watching Jose Mourinho on the touchline. And I know he's a bit of it's kind of funny to watch him, but his press conferences, he's just so charismatic. He's got such a personality, such a presence. And when he speaks, you listen. Jose Mourinho's press conference after the game yesterday was absolutely amazing. It was the most entertaining bit of the whole evening, more entertaining than any of the football. And I miss that with Erik ten Hag. Every time we hear from Erik ten Hag, it's just like, oh, it's a process. Oh, a point away is good. Like, it's just not inspiring, I don't think. And I do just wonder. And you know what? Actually, I spoke to some Ajax fans before he came to Manchester United, and a lot of them said the same thing. They said he's a good manager, but like, he's quite weird. He's quite awkward, and like in press conferences and stuff. And they said that was one of the things that they didn't like about him. This was an Ajax fans, obviously, after he left Ajax to join Manchester United, Erik ten Hag. But yeah, I miss having that kind of personality. Obviously, like Jurgen Klopp had that personality. Pep Guardiola has that personality. Jose Mourinho has that personality. These top managers who, they go into a room and everybody's listening to them. Whereas I just think with Erik ten Hag, it is a little bit robotic at times. It's just like, we're in a process, injuries, Ineos are behind me, back. It's just the same things over and over again. Whereas Jose Mourinho yesterday, like he just, it was absolutely amazing. Go and watch his press conference if you haven't seen it yesterday. Jose Mourinho talking about the referee, and like it's just entertaining, isn't it? And we're suffering enough on the pitch that to have a manager who at least entertains you a bit, yeah. So many of the comments are saying that Jose Mourinho got 15 red cards last season. That can't be right. Surely not. Somebody says, do you think Manchester United can still win the Europa League? I mean, of course they can still win it, yeah. At the moment, we're still going through to the next round. So, obviously, anything's possible. Do I think we're going to win the Europa League? Let's have a look at the odds, shall we? Let's have a look at the odds. I think Tottenham are favourites. Let's have a look. See who's the favourites to win it at the moment. So let's have a look. Europa League winner odds. So at the moment, Tottenham are favourites to win the Europa League and Man United are second. So even though we've drawn the first 3 games, Manchester United is still second favourites to win the Europa League. This is in the bookies. So I'm looking on a website that compares all the odds across all of the different bookies. And they've currently got Manchester United as second favourites to win the Europa League with Tottenham first. So the bookies don't really see it as dramatic as some people have kind of made out it to be. So at the moment, it's Tottenham favourites, then Man United, then Athletic Bilbao, then Roma, then Lazio, and then Real Sociedad. Those are the current favourites. Tottenham are kind of the odds-on favourites. Tottenham to win the Europa League. I mean, maybe, yeah. Maybe that will be their first trophy in God knows how long. It's a possibility. But do I still think Man United will win it? I think Erik ten Hag needs to win it if he wants to have any chance of keeping his job, because we're clearly not going to win the Premier League. We're going to struggle to get top 4. Yeah, I think Erik ten Hag has to win the Europa League. And I said this at the beginning of the season, right? So for all the people who say like I'm too soft on Erik ten Hag and all the rest of it, my goal at the beginning of the season, and this is what I will judge my opinion of the season on, I said that Man United will finish in the top 8. And I said that they need to win the Europa League. That was my expectation for this season, because I looked at the other teams in the Europa League and I said that the only team in that Europa League who we should have a difficult game against is Tottenham. Now, obviously, that's maybe being a little bit simplistic. I know, like, you've got teams like Porto, you've got Ajax, you've got Lazio, you've got all of these other, decent European teams. But in theory, based on the squad we have, the only team that I could say has a like-for-like squad or better in the Europa League is Tottenham. And I think you'd all agree with that, right? They might have different systems and all the rest of it, but by way of players, I think Tottenham's the only one that's kind of comparable, but based on the amount of money they've spent, the squad they've got, the bench they've got, etc. So when I looked at the beginning of the season, I looked at the Premier League and I thought, you know what, it's going to be very difficult for us to break into the top four based on the business that Aston Villa had done, the business that Liverpool, Tottenham, Chelsea, Man City, Arsenal, like all of these teams have got amazing squads and strengthened. And I just looked at the Premier League and I thought we're going to really struggle to get from 8th to 4th. And I know people will say that that's what we should be aiming for, but this is just my opinion. Your opinion might be different. So my expectation at the beginning of the year was that Man United finished somewhere in the top 8. Would I be happy with that? No, but I just thought that was realistic. And that we'd win the Europa League. That was my expectation. So I'm sticking with that. Eric Ten Hag, for me, has to win the Europa League. He has to win a trophy this season. Otherwise, I think there already is massive question marks around Eric Ten Hag's future, but I think if he doesn't win a trophy this year and we don't get top 4, then to be honest, I think he should definitely be sacked 100%, and I'll stick by that now. Because the only thing that's kind of keeping him in his job, in my opinion, is the fact that he has won 2 trophies back to back. Although Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got us a second place finish, albeit 20 points behind Manchester City, he didn't win anything, Whereas Eric Ten Hag has won back-to-back trophies. So this season, if he wants any hope of keeping his job in the summer, he has to win a trophy. And for me, it has to be the Europa League. If he wins the League Cup again, it's just going to be a bit like, like if we don't get top 4 and we win the League Cup, it won't be amazing, would it? It'll be pretty disappointing. So, that's my take on that. Let's move on from that though, and let's talk a little bit about Amad Diallo, because there's a lot of questions, let's call it, about Amad Diallo's future this morning. Obviously, he has his contract expires in June 2025, but Manchester United do have the option to extend his contract by 1 further year. So really, his contract expires in June 2026. He does have, 18 months left of his deal. Now, I tried to look at this situation in a more balanced way, and I can kind of understand why Amad Diallo didn't play last night now. And that was just purely because of how Eric Ten Hag wanted to set up. Eric Ten Hag wanted to set up defensively and hit on the counter-attack. And I think obviously Garnacho's pace was the reason why Garnacho started over Amad. Why Anthony came on over Amad, I don't understand, to be honest. That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Obviously, we can question why Eric Ten Hag went and parked the bus against Fenerbahce, but that's a whole conversation for another part of the video, What does Amad's future look like at Manchester United? I don't know. I just think, I've said this for probably 18 months. I think that Manchester United's best style of play is counter-attacking. And I know that a lot of people won't like to hear that, but it is the reality. Man United's best way of getting results is by counter-attacking. We've got Rashford and Garnacho, who are both rapid, but not particularly good in possession. We've got Bruno Fernandes, who every time he gets the ball, he kicks it long. Our whole squad, in my opinion, is set up to counter-attack. And that's not because of Eric Ten Hag. That's just because of the players we've got. It's because of, the players that are in our team. And I'm not sure that Amad Diallo suits that kind of system. Amad Diallo would do well at a Man City. He'd do well at Arsenal. He'd do well at a possession-based team, because he protects the ball. He's constantly looking to pass, etc. Whereas Rashford and Garnacho, it's hit the ball long, they chase it, and they have a shot. And that's effectively where we've got our results this season, isn't it? If you look at the goals we've scored, pretty much all of the goals we've scored have been counter-attacks this season. Whereas for me, Amad Diallo isn't really... obviously, Amad's quick, but I think the point I'm making is he's more of like a possession-based player, isn't he? Opposed to a counter-attacking, kick the ball long, chase after it, and try and shoot first time kind of player. And I think that's why he's probably not getting the game time that some of us are hoping for, because I just think that the system that Eric Ten Hag's having to implement doesn't really work with Amad in it. It's a bit disappointing because I think he's a quality player and I think he definitely should be starting, but it would obviously mean changing the way that we set up. It would be a higher line, pressing a lot higher, etc. Whereas at the moment we have been sat back a little bit deeper, haven't we? Maybe that's because of the injuries. I don't know. I don't know the reasons behind it. Maybe it's because I don't know. I don't think there's really an excuse though, because you've still got De Ligt and Martinez. You've got your first choice centre backs. You should be able to play higher up the pitch. You should be able to press higher up the pitch, and we shouldn't be relying on counter attacks to score goals for every single goal. So yeah, it's a bit strange. Al says if Erik ten Hag wasn't owed £17 million, he would be gone by now. That's probably a fair point, I reckon. I think that's a very fair point. And a lot of people seem to shy away from that and seem to shy away from the fact that Ineos obviously gave him this contract extension in the summer. And as has just been said, to sack Erik ten Hag now would cost £17 million. And then to bring in a new manager, if it's going to be a Ruben Amorim, it's going to be whoever, you're going to have to pay massive amounts of compensation. So I honestly think that most of the reason why Erik ten Hag stayed was because of, why he hasn't been sacked now is because of Ineos' reluctance to spend out probably anywhere from 30 to 40 million pounds total package, to sack him, sack all of his staff, bring in a new manager, pay the other club that they've come from's compensation, it's new everything. They've just assembled a whole new backroom staff 6 weeks ago, Ineos, and then they'd have to sack all of them and pay off all of their contracts. And I think that that's why they didn't want to do it. I think that, they don't want to press the button because of the financial implications. That's my opinion on it, but I might be wrong. Yeah. People are saying that let's see what else we got. Alan says we're doing okay in the Europa. We haven't lost a match yet. Yeah, I'm not at panic stations in the Europa League. As I said, we're still in a position where we would qualify for the playoff round. So we're still technically going through to the next round. And at the end of the day, right, nobody cares how you get somewhere. If you get to the final and you win it, no one's going to be like, oh, you drew the first 3 games. Like, who cares? It doesn't matter, does it? And we have gone unbeaten. I will stand by the point that going away to Porto and going away to Fenerbahce is not easy games. Like, they're difficult opponents, difficult hostile environments. But still, I think the big one for me is that FC Twente game. That's the one that really, really hit home. I think if we'd have beat FC Twente, yeah, I would have had no complaints. If we'd have beat FC Twente, we would be like 2 points off the automatic qualification places, and we'd be in a prime position to pounce on those above us. But the fact that we drew with FC Twente, I think that's the one that really hurt. I'm not that bothered about drawing with Porto and Fenerbahce because, as I said, they're not bad teams. They've got good players, good managers, and a very hostile environment because of their fans. So I've got no problem with those 2 fixtures. I think it's just the FC Twente one, which, when you look at the amount of money that our team has cost, probably over £1 billion, Erik ten Hag spending 600 million, and then we can't go and beat FC Twente at home, whose best player... who was their best player? It was somebody... Was it Van Wolfswinkel or something? Somebody who used to play in the Premier League literally like 15 years ago for like Norwich or something. Let's have a look. I remember at the time and I was watching the game and I'm like, yeah, Ricky Van Wolfswinkel. He's their most valuable player, FC Twente. That kind of just summed it up for me. I was just like, how are we not beating a team whose best player is a 35-year-old Ricky Van Wolfswinkel who played in the Premier League like literally, let's have a look. Yeah, like a decade ago. He used to play for Norwich, didn't he? Yeah. In 2014, he played for Norwich in the Premier League. So, yeah. Anderson says, Eric is not leaving. The club needs stability. A new manager would mean starting all over again. I hear you. I agree with you somewhat, It would mean starting all over again. But if there's a better manager available, then you probably have to take it. But at the moment, I still don't think there's a better manager available. That's the problem that we have. I don't think Tuchel was better. Obviously, Gareth Southgate I don't think was better. I don't think Graham Potter was better, or is better, sorry. So yeah, I think what Ineos would do is they're going to try and wait until the summer. They're going to see how the season goes. If Erik ten Hag wins the Europa League, that would mean we have Champions League football next season. everything changes then, doesn't it? The mood goes up again. And you know, people are quite dramatic about like the Premier League. Obviously, the start to the Premier League's not been good, but we're not like miles away from top 4, are we? Let's have a look. So at the moment, we are on 11 points, top 4. Remember, 5th place will probably get Champions League football as well this season, based on how well English teams have done in the Premier League, in the European competition so far. So at the moment, we're technically only 4 points off Champions League football in the Premier League. You know, if we win the next couple of games, which we may or may not do, you could easily be, you know, 1 or 2 points off top 4, and then the mood completely changes. So yeah, that's my take on that. But I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Thank you very much for joining me on the show this morning. Please do make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel if you are new. This has been Daily Red Devil. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll speak to you all on the next one. Bye.